Congratulations on your Handi Quilter purchase. My name is Vicki Hoth and I'm the Education Coordinator for Handi Quilter. We want you to be successful with your Handi Quilter system, so help is available from the Handi Quilter reps as well as direct from Handi Quilter. So let's get started. Let's set up your frame.
You should have received several boxes with your Handi Quilter machine. There are 4 boxes for the 12-foot studio frame. You also should have received the box with the HQ18 Avante, as well as boxes with the bobbin winder and the handlebars. If you purchased a Fusion, you will also receive a long tube box that contains the frame's tracks. Begin by removing the contents from the boxes. Locate the installation manual in box number 1 so you can refer to it throughout the installation process. Be sure to refer to the list of parts, tools, and hardware that came with the frame and become familiar with them. If you purchased a 10-foot frame, the 4th box has a 2-foot table and poles. Refer to the manual for the parts, hardware, and tools you'll need for this step. Make sure both height adjustable legs are initially set to their lowest height setting. Be sure to orient the left and right legs correctly. The batting bar bracket needs to be on the outside of the leg and at the front of the frame. Screw the leveling feet about halfway into the bottom of each leg. Attach the left frame side back onto the side leg, finger tightening the 4 screws. Attach the left frame side front onto the side leg, finger tightening the 4 screws. Repeat with the right side leg. Refer to the manual for the parts, hardware, and tools you'll need for this step. Prepare the 3 table sections by removing the 2 track support screws from each track support and set aside. As you unscrew this, you will notice that the screw falls inside the channel. There's the track, and there's the screw that falls down onto the floor. Place the 2 4-foot table sections face down on the floor, end to end. Join the sections together with the table splice brace. Line up the holes and make sure the flange of the brace is on top. Finger tighten the 6 screws. Repeat with the other 4-foot table section. If you are assembling a 10-foot table, make sure the 2-foot section is in the middle. Make sure the table sections are as close together as possible and that there is no gap. Use the wrench to tighten the 4 side screws on each table splice brace until the brace touches the sides of the table frames, and then loosen the screw 1/2 turn. Fully tighten the top 2 screws and then fully tighten the 4 side screws. Do this for the remaining 3 braces. Now it's time to set up the middle leg assembly. Refer to the manual for the parts, hardware, and tools you'll need for this step. Your tools may be different than the tools we're using in this video. Install 2 leveling feet about halfway into the 2 middle legs. Place a middle leg assembly over the 2 jointed table sections and attach using 4 screws. Push down hard on the leg and fully tighten the screws, and then attach the other middle leg assembly in the same way. Make sure both middle leg assemblies are set at the lowest settings and that both height adjustment levers face the back of the table. Turn the frame on its side so the height adjustable levers face the floor. Now we will be setting up the end leg assembly. Refer to the manual for the parts, hardware, and tools you'll need for this step. Slide the left leg under the table. Starting at the top left corner, finger tighten 2 screws through the top corner left frame side front piece into the table frame. Align a frame side coupler to the holes in the left frame side front and the left frame side back, and finger tighten 4 screws through the coupler, the frame side, and into the table. Now do the same with the right leg. With the help of a second person, rotate the frame so it is standing in the upright position. Finger tighten 2 screws through the back side of the left and right leg assemblies. There should be very little or no gap between the bottom of the table and the top of each leg. Use the wrench to tighten the 4 screws at each corner and also tighten the 4 screws of each frame to each leg. Place the table where it will be used. Use a level as you adjust the leveling feet to ensure the table is level, both front to back and side to side. This ensures the machine will stay where you put it and not roll forward, back, or side to side. Fine-tune the height adjustments using the provided wrench. Double check that the tabletop frame is flat at each table splice bracket and not sagging or high at the joints. It's time to assemble the Precision Glide track. Refer to the manual for the instructions. If you have a fusion frame, the track is already assembled for you. Lay 3 track support sections on the table upside down and end to end, with the wider lip of the sections facing toward the outside of the table. Match A to A, B to B, C to C, and D to D. Check inside the ends of the track supports for debris and remove any foreign matter. Place one screw into the third hole from each splice end of each section to serve as a stop screw and fully tighten. Insert a coupler into one prepared end of one track support section up to the stop screw. Thread a screw into the first hole and lightly tighten. Insert the other end of the coupler into the second prepared track support section. Hold the two adjoining track support sections tightly together and thread a screw into the first hole of the second track support and lightly tighten. You may need to gently rock the track support to seat the coupler. Insert another screw into the track support, align and tighten. Repeat with another track support section and coupler. Make sure everything is aligned and fully tighten the screws. Insert a plastic track completely into one side of the aluminum track. The plastic track should slide into the track support easily. If not, back it out slightly and try again. Insert another plastic track into the opposite side of the track support. Assemble the other track support in the same way. Now we attach the tracks to the table. Secure one track to the back of the quilting frame. Line up the track support by holding it tightly against the plastic tabletop as you secure it to the frame. Attach very loosely with 6 screws. Repeat the process for the front of the frame. Now remove the machine and carriage from the machine box. Place the carriage on the table rails so that the carriage encoder assembly will be towards the back of the frame. Roll the carriage back and forth along the length of the table. The wheels should engage the track on both the front and the back of the carriage. This helps to establish the distance between the two tracks. Place the machine onto the carriage and roll it the entire length of the frame, working the tracks into the wheels as you go. Lightly tighten the back and front track support screws as you move down the table. Check the carriage to verify that it rolls smoothly and that both ends of the carriage are engaging the tracks. Once the carriage moves smoothly along the length of the track, fully tighten the screws to secure the front track to the table. Check that the table is level. If the machine moves by itself from left to right or from front to back, you'll need to re-level the table by adjusting the leveling feet height. If you have a fusion frame, you will need to assemble the pole bracket units as shown here. Refer to the manual for more details as needed. Now let's set up the ratchet stop assembly. Refer to the manual for the parts, hardware, and tools you'll need for this step. We are showing how to attach the ratchet stop and hand wheel to the right side of the frame. Place one ratchet stop holder between the two metal pieces at the back of the open hole pole bracket with the stop nub facing inside. Thread a connector screw through a ratchet stop bushing, a pole bracket with the ratchet stop holder inserted, and finally into the ratchet stop mount. Pay close attention to the orientation of the ratchet stop. Tighten with the wrench until the ratchet stop holder nub holds the ratchet stop. In the same manner, attach the remaining ratchet stops and ratchet stop holders to the front of the pole bracket. Now it's time to attach the pole brackets. Slide the open hole pole bracket down over the metal frame mount on the right side of the frame. Refer to the manual for the holes to use. The pole bracket should straddle the frame mount. Screw into the frame with washers and lock nuts. Check that the pole bracket is level and fully tighten the 2 screws. Now slide the plugged hole pole bracket over the metal frame mount on the left side. The bracket should straddle the frame mount. Use bolts, washers, and lock nuts to secure. Now it's time for the pole assembly. The width of the frame will vary depending on how many of the pole sections you use. We are showing how to assemble a 12-foot frame using 3 4-foot sections for each of the 5 poles. Join 2 4-foot pole sections together by inserting a pole coupler into the end of one pole section, pressing the spring button as it slides in. Continue sliding until the spring button pops out of the hole in the pole section. Repeat to add the other 2 pole sections to complete a 12-foot pole. Make 4 more 12-foot poles. If you have a 10-foot frame, use a 2-foot section in the center of each of the 5 poles. It's time now to attach the pole ends to the poles. There are 2 poles that need a pole end on each side, and there are 3 poles that need a pole end on one side and a ratchet wheel assembly on the other side. Hold on to the outside pole end and push in the nut end of the bolt until the wedge slides out. Prepare the remaining pole ends in the same way. Slide a pole end into the end of one pole. Check that the pole end is inserted completely. While holding the pole, tighten the lock nut. This expands the outer pole end, ensuring a tight fit. If you have difficulty tightening the lock nut, temporarily loosen and remove the lock nut and replace it with a regular nut and use it to ensure a tight fit. Then remove the regular nut and replace it again with a lock nut to secure the end of the pole. Repeat this process for the rest of the pole ends. Now it's time to do the short bolt, ratchet wheel assembly and the hand wheel. Like you did with the pole ends, loosen the nut at the end of the short bolt ratchet wheel assembly until it nearly reaches the end of the bolt. Hold on to the outside pole end and push in the nut end of the bolt until the wedge slides out. Insert one short bolt ratchet wheel assembly into the open end of a pole. Completely tighten the nut with the wrench while holding the short bolt ratchet wheel tightly into the open end of the pole. This expands the outer pole end, ensuring a tight fit. If you have difficulty tightening the lock nut, temporarily loosen and remove the lock nut and replace it with a regular nut and use it to ensure a tight fit. Then remove the regular nut and replace it again with a lock nut to secure the end of the pole. Now let's assemble the hand wheel. Align the 3 tabs on the hand wheel insert with the 3 notches on the outside pole end so the hand wheel will turn the pole. Assemble the hand wheel according to the manual. Then slide the hand wheel assembly into the open end of the remaining pole. Hold the open end of the pole and tighten the nut with the wrench. Make sure the hand wheel engages the ratchet wheel and does not spin loosely, and that the 3 tabs of the outside pole end align with the 3 holes in the ratchet wheel. This completes the take-up pole. This is the take-up pole. This is the top pole. This is the backing pole. This is the idler pole. And this is the batting pole. It's time to attach the poles to the frame. First, attach the idler pole. Then attach the take-up pole. Then attach the quilt top pole. Next, attach the backing pole. And last, attach the batting pole. Then slide the rubber end cap onto the end of each bolt sticking out of the pole ends. In your packaging, you will receive 2 small Velcro strips to attach to the side brackets and 3 bundles of leader Velcro to attach to the poles. You will receive 4 bungee clamps for the Avante and 6 bungee clamps for the Fusion. Thread the bungee cord from the inside of the frame through the bungee slot and then pull the cord in a downward motion to lock the bungee clamp in place. Repeat for the other bungee cords. Prepare the poles for the leader Velcro by placing a mark 3 inches in from each end of the top pole, the backing pole, and the take-up pole. Peel the backing off the Velcro strip as you go and apply to all 3 poles, starting at the 3-inch mark and ending at the opposite 3-inch mark. Make sure the Velcro is aligned straight. This determines how well your quilt will load onto the frame. It's time to attach the leaders. First, mark the center of the quilt top pole, the backing pole, and the take-up pole with a permanent marker. The marked leaders provided with the HQ Studio frame are sized for the 12-foot frame. If you are setting the frame up at the 8-foot or a 4-foot length, you will need to cut the leaders to fit. You may want to serge the ends of the leaders so they won't fray. Mark the center of the leaders on both the Velcro strip and the hemmed edge. Align the leader with the pole, starting in the center and working out to each end. You will do this process on the backing pole and the quilt top pole, so the marked sides of the leader hang to the center between the poles. It's a waterfall effect. Beginning in the center, align the marks and attach the remaining leader so it falls to the back of the take-up pole. Once you've set up your frame, it's time to finish setting up your Handi Quilter machine.